Oh gosh, I forgot to sneeze. Hello, gentle viewers, and welcome to another episode of Alistair Reviews It. Today I am going to review The Great Hunt, the second book in Robert Jordan's critically lauded and fan-adored Wheel of Time series. If you haven't watched my review of the first book, I will go ahead and link it down below, and you can check it out and then pop over if you want to. This book was so much easier to read than the first one. The first one was like all foundation based. There's some foundation in this one too, but boy did we get a lot more story than we did in the first one, and I was very excited about that. Okay, just let me go ahead and say that this review will be formatted slightly different from the first one because this is the second book in a series and it's already kind of spoilery if you go past the first book. So I'm going to be giving a non-spoiler review for the first part of it, and then I'm going to be delving more into what my thoughts about the book, spoilery thoughts about the book, and thinking about maybe theories and stuff for the future books. If you've already read the future books and you know that my theories are wrong or right or anything, just don't tell me. I guess I'm a little afraid of the comment section with these, so just bear with me. I'll get there eventually. Or maybe just say spoiler at the top of your comment, and then when I'm done with the series, I can come back and look at all the spoilers. Because if I see spoiler at the top of the comment, I can just scroll past it. I think that's a good one. I'll also say that many of the Wheel of Time fans have been very supportive and welcoming in your community, so I appreciate that. What I liked about this book, non-spoilery, we got so much more into characters than we did in the first one. The first one, there was a lot of traveling, and this one, we kind of settled in a bit and got into the characters, especially the female characters. And I have to say that I loved their parts of the story the most. Whenever it was a chapter from a female point of view, I was really enjoying it, and I really almost wanted more of it throughout the book. I mean, it isn't so much like I know A Song of Ice and Fire, the first book that I read. I hated changing points of view because there was like very boring characters, I think, throughout it. But I was never like bored when the point of view would change in Robert Jordan's books. And I do think that his transitions in The Great Hunt are much better than his transitions in the first book, which I appreciated. I also think Robert Jordan wrote Egwene Nynaeve. It is Nynaeve. Egwene Nynaeve and Elaine very well, and Min. They were very organic. They had their own difficulties, and I felt like I feel like sometimes, especially fantasy authors, tend to write females not as actual people, but as some sort of like idolized version of what they think a woman is. And this is not the case. They were very organic, very real, and I very much enjoyed getting to know them in this book. We also get a couple more side characters in this book, and I applaud Robert Jordan because although the characters don't get much dialogue as the main characters do, they don't feel flat. They definitely feel three-dimensional. They feel nuanced, and especially when he introduces more elements to the story, you get that those characters are much more than a plot point. What I I wouldn't say I didn't like. What I want more of, I guess, going forward is I think Robert Jordan did really great job with his female characters in this book, but honestly, I'm not in love with the main character, Rand, at least not yet, and I just really want him to come out of the hero closet. He's in the hero closet, he's full of denial, and you just need to jump out. And the other thing is that, and this is almost, I mean, it's a personal opinion thing, but the Wheel of Time, basically, it's a pattern and everything's already planned out, especially like very pivotal portions of your life are going to happen or they're going to go a certain way, which kind of takes free will away from characters, which kind of gets them to be stuck and they cannot make decisions. And I'm always frustrated with reading books like that because I feel like, oh, well, I already know what's going to happen. I already know that he's going to be the Dragon Reborn and there's going to be this big battle and stuff. And so it doesn't leave as much room for left and right movement, which could be interesting reading it from here on out. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I like to be surprised sometimes. And I don't know how surprised I'm going to be with already knowing a lot of what's going to happen. Like, I already know this one character is going to become this hero. Not because of spoilers, but because of the Wheel of Time, because everything keeps on repeating itself. So I'm hoping that there's some sort of breakage, or that these characters really take their futures. These characters really take their own story and write their own story. They write their own pattern. They decide to forge through and be who they want to be despite the Wheel of Time. So like I feel like the Wheel of Time is definitely gonna be like focusing them in one way or another, but I do want them to take charge of their own. I really want them to take charge of their own story. That's it for my spoiler-free review of the Wheel of Time: The Great Hunt, the second book in Robert Jordan's mega fantasy series. So, if you would like to come with me, gentle viewers, into the spoiler room, we will be there in now. We're now here. Let's get into the spoiler content. What everybody is here for. So, first off, I want to go through the magic system. We learned a little bit more about Saidin and Saidar in this, especially with Nynaeve and Gwyn going through their training, which I thought was probably my favorite part. It was my favorite part of the whole book, was watching the ladies go through their training. And honestly, like the way they're just in the first book, Saidin and Saidar, the two halves of the one power were described as being like one being a fish and the other one being a like a bird or something. You know, like one swims, one flies, but they seem to be kind of the same so far. It's just one makes you crazy. So I don't know. I'm not seeing those differences very much. I do know that men are more apt to be better with earth and fire, and then women with like water and wind powers, for example. So we get into that. We finally get to a steading, which was really cool, I think. That just this area where the one power doesn't exist, and I'm very curious about why that is. Like, why does the one power not exist in the Ogier's steadings? Like, what's the purpose of that? Was it developed after the male side was tainted, or as a defense mechanism, or was it always like that? Because the Ogiers seem to have their own magic itself. Some of them are able to sing, to the trees and make them grow, or form different wood carvings by singing to the trees, which I think is very interesting to explore in future ones. I don't know where that power comes from if it's not from the one power. So we do get introduced to those new elements of the power systems in the Wheel of Time, and Rand himself explores his power throughout the book, oftentimes very reluctantly. But that's also the same thing with Perrin. Perrin he's very reluctant to give into his new affinity for the wolves at basically all times. The only people who really seem to seize their destiny and seize the power and really be upfrontly power hungry are the ladies in this book. And honestly, they kind of come off as badasses. I really, really loved their storyline. I really loved the, what is it called? The Adam, and the whole chaining the domains to their basically trainers and enslaving them. I thought that was very interesting. It was a very cool way. It's a very cool way for the Shan Chen. Ooh, I like that. Shan Chen to focus their resources, because you kind of see a different way of doing things, where as the Aes Sedai have really taken their power and used their power for political maneuvering, the Shaolin Chen have used this as a resource and instead have gotten ahead of it so that they aren't as afraid of, I guess, the Aes Sedai, which everybody else seems to be afraid of in this book. And I think we got into a especially with Nynaeve and Egwene, a much darker place, and in terms of what they are willing to do to survive, especially when Egwene was a domain and she realized true. It's funny because the Wheel of Time itself is a trap in terms of you not being able to use your free will. However, you the Adam is basically the same thing but just narrowed, and she has no say in what she does. Even her thoughts are are not just privately hers anymore. And it was interesting to see her go through that, and my heart was going out to her during all of these parts. And honestly, like, this is where I was in the book. This is where the book really grabbed me, was in watching these ladies actually have a really nice storyline. And then, but then we go back to Rand, and Rand did a lot of traveling. They're all looking for the horn, and more specifically, Matt's dagger, so that he doesn't die. Um, and it's basically him going through his inner turmoil, brooding a bit about his role, and also denying his role. I think I wrote down in one of my notes. I wrote down in my notes that they were very good at denial, especially him and Perrin. They were very, very good at denial, and they just need to accept the roles. I'm hoping that in the next book, The Dragon Reborn, Rand isn't still trying to throw off the chains of I guess his destiny. I want to talk about a couple of side characters just for a couple of minutes before I wrap this up. So Liadrin, I thought I was gonna like her. I thought, you just being bad, but actually you're good. You're just like more obtuse about it. But then she ended up being a Black Ajah, and I was, darn, there's no redemption for this character. And at the same time, I was like, so I really liked her. And then, but then we look at Celine, who ends up being Lenfair, which I I knew from the beginning, this girl is not good for you, Rand. Especially, she was just not good for you. Whenever any character is a little too nice, a little too sweet, and a little just mysterious, you know that they're probably going to be a bad person. That's why I thought Lee Adrin was actually going to secretly be a good person. But that wasn't the case, and I was shocked. I was hoping that when she was leading the ladies, to Falm or to wherever they went, that she was actually doing something good. Except I realized that she wasn't, and I was like, I can't like you as a character anymore. I just can't. I thought that you were more than this. I believed in you. Okay, and then Ingtar. I did not expect him to be a dark friend. I was shook. I was shook. I was like, and I think that I really enjoyed his last scene. I really enjoyed his last scene, and I definitely think that he redeemed himself. And honestly, I think that he was a dark friend in order to protect his family, his domain, like protect the people he loves. And I feel like even when you do bad things, if you do bad things with a good heart, um, it's better than obviously doing it with, like evil intentions. And I don't think that his intentions were ever evil. I think his intentions were to protect his people, which is honorable. And the way he left this book was also honorable. So good on him. I'm excited to start the next book. If you want to have further discussions about this, reach out to me on Twitter. Please like, subscribe, and ding that bell. And I will see you guys later. Adios, gentle viewers.